good rule of thumb when you're planting out seeds in your trays is seeds should really only be planted about twice as deep as they are wide. Okay, so this seed, you don't need to use a ruler for this, but this seed is about, it's about 2 millimeters wide, right? So it should really only be planted about 4 millimeters deep. You don't have to worry too much about these numbers. I'm just gonna show you a simple technique to do this. You just take your fingers, just make a nice little depression here. Not very deep, just enough to create a place for that seed to sit when we tap it in there. Okay, so that's pretty good there. And then what I do, I find this to be the easiest way, is I put them in my hand. So then I can just take little pinches at a time. And I grab a few, like I probably have 7 or 10 in here. And I just kind of wiggle my fingers back and forth until 1 or 2 pop out. Okay? Now I said 1 or 2, sometimes 3. And why do you say, well, why would I plant 1 or 2 or 3? What I'm aiming for, what I want to have happen, is I want to have 1 plant in each of these cells. There's really no benefit in having 2 plants in a cell. In fact, if I end up with 2, like I do in this one right here, I'm gonna actually just pinch out the weakest one and throw it in the compost. Because, like I said, we want vigor, right? And if you have 2 plants competing with each other at a young age, they're gonna stunt each other. They're both gonna be stunted by each other. So some people will say, oh, well, can't I just separate them and put one of them in another pot? At such a young age like this, these are only a week old, if you do that kind of thing, it's gonna be really hard on them. And if you keep waiting, they're gonna keep stunting each other. So I really encourage people, I know it's hard, but I really encourage you to pinch things and get rid of them when they come up together. So you say, well, why do I plant 2? Well, seeds all have a germination rate, and old seeds don't tend to germinate or spira with quite the same vigor as young seeds. The seeds are alive, and that's why it's really important that you're getting good quality seed that's been stored well. Okay, so seed should be stored in a cool, dry, and dark place. So when you see these seeds sitting in a drivhus or in a nursery on a rack in the sun, those are not good places for those seeds to be. They should be stored cool, dry, and dark. And they should also be young. Good seed sellers will put the day that they tested them. So this is a bloom call that was tested on September of 2018. All right, so this seed is about 1.5 years old now, right? Which means it's starting to get older. So this is probably the last year that I'll use this seed here. Because after 2 years, most seeds start to really lose their viability, their strength, unless they have been kept perfectly, which is really hard to do for a lot of us. So young seed, and also seed that was grown well. So you need to get seed from good growers of seed. You're saying this is really hard. Well, there's actually a great Norwegian company. It's called Solhatt, solhatt.no. And you can order seeds online from them. They will send them to you. So it's amazing. Because you can get really good quality seeds, you can get lots of good diversity. They have a lot of ecologically grown seeds. So I strongly recommend Solhatt, and you can support a good Norwegian company as we transition Norway towards this sort of second and better green revolution, I would call it. But yeah, seeds, really, really important. Remember, we want to encourage vigor, and if you're starting with weak seed, you're already starting way back in the race. So you want to have strong seed. That's like actually number 1. I should have led with that. But these are good seeds. We've kept them stored pretty well, and they're still under a couple years old, so I'm feeling okay about it. So what we do is, the next thing is, it's really important that seed is actually in contact with the earth, right? Because we don't want to be watering all the time. not because we're lazy, but because when we water, we tend to take away oxygen and we tend to cool down the soil. And these young seeds, what helps them to spira is actually heat and water and oxygen. So we want to limit the amount of watering that we have to do. And if we get that seed in touch with the soil, really close to the soil, what's going to happen is the soil is actually going to act the way a wick does in an oil lamp, and it's going to draw that deep moisture all the way up to the seed as the surface dries out, and it's going to give that seed all the moisture it needs. I usually plant my seeds and then I water them once really well. So I water them so that water is coming out the bottom, it's draining out the bottom, and then I usually leave them, and I don't have to water them until they spira for the most part. So we want to make sure we get that seed in touch with that soil. We just take our fingers and we make sure we push that seed in there. Just get it connected with that soil really well. And then just a little bit to help prevent it from drying out, we just go ahead, remember we only want this thing to be covered like 3 millimeters, right? So just a little bit, like there, that's perfect, a little dusting. You can even push that down now, that's gonna help get that seed in contact even more. And then the really important part is we want to always label. We want to put down the kind of crop that it is. So in this case, it's a bloemkool. And we want to put down the date. So it's the 30th of April. I put that on there. And that's really nice because I want to make sure I get this out within 6 weeks if I can from today. Okay, so that helps me remember, oh, that thing's ready to go out into the garden pretty soon. It's been in there for 5 weeks. I better get it out. In fact, if it's a nice day, you should just get it out that day. If it's been 5 weeks, that's more than enough. Again, this is, I think, a perfect size for 5 to 6 week seedlings, and there's really no reason to keep things inside in these little cells for much longer than that. So, last thing I need to talk about is now that we've seeded them, we're gonna water them. We're gonna water them really well. Like I said, we're gonna put water down nice and gentle, but we're gonna make sure a lot of water is moving through there. We've got this thing saturated. Now we say, well, where do we put them? Okay? The most important thing for seeds to spira is warmth. So we're in my kitchen right now. It's a nice, you see I'm wearing a t-shirt. It's a nice comfortable temperature. If you're comfortable in the room, then it's probably pretty good. If you look at some charts, you can go online and look at this stuff. Most seeds like to germinate or spira between 25 and 30 degrees. That's kind of the Goldilocks zone for spira right there. So it's really nice in Norway. Everyone's got these heated bathroom floors. That can be a really good spot to start seeds as long as you don't cook them. A sunny window is a nice place because it gets warm, and it has the added benefit of providing light once the seeds are up. And as they grow more and more, warmth is still important, but light becomes more important. And I'm just going to be honest with you, it's really hard to get enough light inside the house. These vegetable plants, to facilitate vigor, they need a lot of sunshine. It's this amazing thing that plants do, is that they photosynthesize, right? They are the things on this planet that take sunlight and air and nutrients from the soil, and they turn that into carbohydrates and proteins for all of the rest of us to use on this planet. But they need sunshine to do that. And even a sunny window that faces to the south and gets a load of sun, it often doesn't get enough for these guys, all right? And so in a window, you're usually a little bit stunted and you're slowing down the vigor. Okay, so the warmth of the house can be really nice to get them germinating, to be growing, but to actually push them into that next stage, they need to get sunshine. Like once they're up, once they're all actually up, they should be getting into sunshine. So that's hard, because if you don't have a drivhus and it's late April or even early May or even June in Trondheim, you can risk some really cold temperatures. And a lot of these plants don't handle hard freezing that well. So one thing, you can take them outside during the day if it's a nice day. If there's not a ton of wind, it's actually good to get a little bit of wind on them to strengthen them up. Get them into some real sunlight. That makes a big difference. You can build simple things. If you can find some old windows that have been taken out of a house, just build a simple box or lean against the house that faces south. They're gonna get a lot more sunlight there, and they're gonna get some protection from those colder temperatures and from those stronger winds. But they're also gonna be getting used to the environment. We wanna transition them towards being outside, because a lot of plants can actually do really well here in the summer once they're established. So those are kind of the things to consider. You can put lights over your small plants if you can get a hold of those and that works for you. That's great. It can help. I always think that it's better if you can just get them under some real sun. So please, that's such an important factor. Again, it's this kind of way of growing is thinking about all the things they need, and sunlight is like really important for plants, and that's one of the things that we have a hard time with here in Norway, of course. So I think I covered most everything I needed to cover today. We're going to try to have more of these videos as the season goes along, and you can do us some favors. One is to just like the video. That helps us out. Comment on the video, especially if you have like topics that you're interested in and you want to know more about. We'd love to hear from you. Again, my email is urbandyrking@gmail.com. Please get in touch with me if you have questions. We have a few other products that we offer here at the Center for Urban Farming. So we have the turf here available for sale. We also have compost to amend and to build the soil in your garden or your pallet karma. And we have, if you're starting out a new pallet karma, a new garden box this year, we have some hagejord that's good to start with. And then we also offer consulting services if you have a larger project that you're doing. And we really hope that someday soon here we'll have everyone back to the farm, back to Volgor, and we can have courses and parties with everyone. But until then, we're going to try to support you all and continue your growing. And we hope the best. And please do reach out if you have any questions. All right, until next time, thank you. Bye-bye.